and that's why your Wi-Fi.
Yeah. Someone at the door, John, now I'm here to stay. Tell me who the fuck gonna face the music. More brick laying, less screen time. Been cutting back on the daily usage. Long road for the road dogs, for the weird minds from the soapbox. Got BKTs on this bitch, so everybody getting rolled on, yeah. Yeah, everybody getting rolled on. Check artist credits on BMI. I'm just too kind to expose y'all. And I see a team with the ghost sign. And question if y'all ever wrote songs. All enemies of mine have been study. Please don't.
Well, hello, folks. This is a, I guess like an amateur kind of shithouse, clown world version of the MCU's Bleeding Edge live stream show here. As you can see, I am like straight, like legit going old school here, like live and like on StreamYard and shit with a phone, with a cell phone and whatnot. Very interesting. Very interesting. My guests have been extremely patient with me, as I've been, and Kyle also personally has been affected by these extremely ravaging, damaging, cataclysmic storms that we experienced today in Southwest Florida. But his Wi-Fi still works.
I blame Molnir. A couple Molnir chunks laying here and there, causing all kinds of havoc.
Yeah, I know those storms. I've been down there when they had them.
Well, bottom line, the Comcast Wi-Fi sucks here over where I live in Sarasota County, and if a fucking ant like crawls on a wire, it goes out. So, bottom line, that's why it took so long for us to go live tonight and whatnot and everything. But hopefully, those of you who will, of course, go and check this video out on the YouTube channel when it actually uploads and whatnot, will still enjoy the show. We're gonna make the best of it, and honestly, we've got a small crew here. We had Andrew from GNN on for a minute and whatnot, but he had to dip. But we've got Kyle from True Believers back for the first time in a hot minute, actually.
Yes, it's been a bit.
How long has it been, Kyle?
It's been at least probably 6 to 8 months. I'm thinking.
Wow.
Well, welcome to life happening and the world being backwards.
Wow, it's that long.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's been about that long. I think it was right before the holidays last year.
What was the last time what was the last thing we collaborated on together? What was it? It was a movie review.
Yeah, what wasn't? What was it? I think it was Black Widow.
No, was it Iron Man 3?
Yeah, we did Iron Man 3. You were doing your look back on the Marvel films at that point.
We're still doing it.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's never ending because they just keep.
Oh yeah, no.
Yeah.
I think we're actually on the Infinity Saga schedule. I think we're actually right around like Guardians of the Galaxy 2 or Black Panther. Somewhere around there. I get confused about the order sometimes, but we also have back for the first time from the Podcast of Champions, sakar.freeforums.net, our brother, sister, connected podcast YouTube channel that we've collaborated with for a long time and whatnot and everything. We have Renee, Loki's mom, back. What's up, Renee?
Oh, I'm doing really great, Jeff. How are you?
Well, you know what? I'm actually, considering our circumstances and whatnot and everything, I think I'm doing okay. I think that good people and good company can tend to lighten up even the worst of situations,
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, here at the MCU's Bleeding Edge YouTube channel and podcast, we of course have the most outstanding, quality, legit damn people that come on the show that are possible. So it's pretty much that simple. Although I'm telling you right now, Kyle and Kevin better bring me and Cyber over on their damn show soon. I'm telling you, I'm getting impatient. I'm ready to guess,
Well,
baby.
we're working on that. We're doing a little bit of cleanup at the Fandom Podcast Network right now, and our show True Believers. But once we get the new coat of paint put on, we'll get you guys on. You know, we don't want to bring people in the middle of the reconstruction. We want to show off the new digs, show off things in the housewarming party, or in this case, the podcast warming party.
Well, of course, and you know what? And I totally appreciate the concept of you wanting to have your house in order and whatnot before you bring guests in. But at the same time, I really genuinely enjoy, like, you know, the long term aspect of collaborating with other with other teams, other pods, other, you know, the YouTube channels and whatnot. And I really like it when we're able to establish some type of dynamic or relationship where we try to like find time every couple of months or, you know, whatever, to try to like, you know, make a show work or whatever together and collaborate again, you know?
Oh yeah, most definitely. Yeah. Unfortunately, too, a little bit on my side has been the unfortunately real life entering the podcast time, which unfortunately, you know, it's happening to everybody. But we will make it work, because there is some good Marvel stuff coming up to talk about. We got Thor to talk about today. We got She-Hulk coming up. We got Wakanda Forever. I was actually in the theater the other night, and Wakanda Forever posters were up already. So.
Wow. Well, you know what? Thank you for mentioning that, Kyle. Folks, we are doing a Thor 4 preview, and it's not going to end up being as extended a version as I'd planned, but we are going to do a watch and react to new-ish Thor 4 trailer that I have not seen yet at all. We're going to start with that, basically, and then, if anything, probably just kind of, I guess, like, do a skimpy version of, like, the outline I presented for the show, and just kind of, like, you know, go over some of the basic facts and, like, some of the stuff we know for sure is official in terms of, you know, tangibly what is actually going down in the film. Maybe we'll do just a little bit of theorizing, and then we'll probably close it out. But honestly, no, Kyle, you know, I just, like, I really, like, appreciate and value all the friendships and the relationships that come out of, like, you know, the content creation deal and whatnot. I genuinely value and appreciate collaborating with other creators over time, you know, and like maintaining relationships and whatnot and everything. You know, of course, nothing's perfect, and you can't always, you know, get together when you want to, you know, every time and make everything work perfect. But at the end of the day, if you at least try to make an effort to try to, you know, come back when you can, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, we don't. You don't leave anybody hanging or anything like that. And if everybody's cool and everybody understands schedules and everything like that, it's all good. You know, we make it happen. We all honestly, live on different schedules and different time zones in some cases, and even different countries. But you know what? We make it happen when we make it happen.
No, but honestly, Kyle, and I think Renee, you probably would appreciate this too. I think that type of mentality actually really connects to the Marvel ethos.
Mm-hmm.
If you think about
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's something that we can all share and talk about, and we can also set aside a lot of differences that we might have between us and come together and just.
That's a good point.
And find out that, yeah, you know what, that person over there voted for you know what, but you know, he's okay, she's okay, you know, she's not what they say they are. And so I think that's the positive that comes out of this.
I was explaining to somebody on another platform, live streaming earlier, like yesterday or something like that. I was explaining to somebody what some of the benefits are of covering Marvel and the MCU, and one of the main things I pointed out to him was that I find, and I didn't know this at first, when I first came up with the idea of the Bleeding Edge, this never occurred to me. But over time, I've noticed that, honestly, say what you want about Marvel Studios, say what you want about how they dominated the film industry completely at this point. You know, they run it. You know, I mean, everything. They're everything.
Right.
And how big it's become and whatnot. Say what you want or whatever. But at the end of the day, you know, Marvel, like MCU, DCU, the fandom type, type topics, the fandom, the superheroes, the shows, they're very uniting, and they're very easy, like, I guess, starting blocks, or like or ways to kind of find common ground with people, to start things right off with a conversation with someone and whatnot, to where if you do have some differing opinions, maybe ideologically or politically and whatnot, right? At the end of the day, you can just go back to the Marvel, to the MCU and whatnot, and find that common ground again. And
totally agree.
Yeah, and it kind of, in a way, I don't want to like overblow the cultural or societal impact of Marvel Studios or like Marvel Comics or anything like that. But I do genuinely believe at this point that I feel like right now, where things are at right now, in our culture, I feel like what Marvel's putting out, and the Marvel ethos that still comes from the comics, and it is still right in there in like the productions and the movies and the Disney Plus shows. I feel like that ethos is something we need right now. There's a lot of bitterness and divisiveness right now with people. So if we can find anything to find common ground on, and even beyond that, actually be able to enjoy having a conversation with each other, even if like you're on the left and I'm on the right, that, hey, I think right now that's a good thing.
Common ground is important, and unfortunately, I think we need a lot more of it these days.
Yeah.
Well,
I think, yeah. Well, and that's what I'm looking forward to with Thor. Just just to bring back the gang and catch up with what's the guy, the big rock guy, and the insect guy. I want to see all that because I really like those characters. And
the insect guy, are you talking about Meek?
Meek.
Yep, Meek.
Yeah, I couldn't think of his name. Yeah, Meek.
Meek is one cool dude, man. I like him.
Yeah,
but that's Taika though. Taika is Korg.
Yeah, Taika's Korg, the voice of Korg, and then you've got Meek, who were two actually big characters from the Planet Hulk, World War Hulk comics too.
Yeah, which is great. But no, I'll be, look, honestly, I guess just as like an opening salvo, I'm not sure how I feel about Thor 4 right now. Going to see the movie next week it comes out?
Yeah, this coming Thursday.
That's right. This coming Thursday. Okay, yeah. So yeah, luckily, Kyle, I've come to the conclusion that over here in my neck of the woods, in the Port Charlotte, Northport area, I don't even have to bother pre-ordering tickets for any of these movies. There's no point, because when I show up, there's nobody there anyway.
Yeah. Now, I'm curious, before we start talking about Love and Thunder, did you like Ragnarok?
Of course I did. It's a. Are you kidding? Look, I'm glad you mentioned this, because I was going to bring this up either way. It was going to come up in my outline, because Taika Waititi specifically crafted this film as a contrast to Ragnarok, right? Like that was the premise. And at that point, yeah, I think Ragnarok is a treasure. I think that honestly, it's a very special movie, and whoever was responsible for initially deciding that it was a good idea to inject the Hulk into that film and put the Hulk and Thor together is a genius. If that was Sarah Finn, hats off to Sarah Finn, or whoever, Kevin Feige. I don't know. I mean, you tell me, Kyle. You tell me, Renee. I don't know if Ragnarok pulls off what it pulled off, ends up as excellent as it was without Hulk.
Oh yeah, I mean, he had to have Thor had to have something that was stronger than he to go up against, and of course it was somebody familiar to us because it was Hulk. I mean, here's And then, yeah, so absolutely, that couldn't have worked. I don't think that could have worked with another character at all. That really, because then Hulk goes. It was just so well, as you say, so well interwoven together. Particularly those last, I would say, like the last 5 or 6 of the films before it finally got to Endgame. I thought they really brought everything in. And
well, Kyle, there really was no dynamic. There really was no relationship or chemistry between Hulk and Thor up until that movie at all.
No, I'm gonna counter you there a little bit, because you had some great moments between them in the original Avengers film.
Okay, yeah.
With some kind of budding rivalry kind of things like that. But again, mixing I liked what they did with Ragnarok, because they mixed a little bit of the World War Hulk with the Gladiator stuff with the Hulk and things like that within Thor Ragnarok. And what it did was, too, we started seeing the start of a more integrated Banner and Hulk, and it was leading towards what we eventually got with Professor Hulk later in Infinity War saga. So it was dropping little seeds there. But the big thing about Ragnarok was Taika brought a different flavor to the MCU that we really hadn't had, except for really James Gunn and doing something different when he did the first Guardians film. And Taika brought a whole different flavor to that, and he's going to continue to do that. And while Thor: Love and Thunder is supposed to be a little bit more uplifting than what Ragnarok was, because Ragnarok, obviously the incantation of Ragnarok, but with Love and Thunder, he's going to play a little bit more on his fun side with this film, and obviously with an outstanding cast that he's going to have in it. I'm really looking forward to seeing what he's going to do here, because I personally have a feeling that Love and Thunder is actually going to end up possibly tying in with some stuff we've already seen in other Marvel films that I think is going to clear up a little bit of things. And I think it's going to set up some stuff that's going to affect more of the cosmic side of the MCU as we head towards Guardians 3 and a few other things.
I think you're right about that. And you know what? One thing that I have not heard about in a long time, or I had not even talked about in a long time, is the fact that at one point it was heavily rumored that we were going to get Loki. We were going to get the Disney Plus Loki, that Loki, in this film.
Yeah,
in some way.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. Here is one of my feelings on this, is that it's either going to happen. It's going to happen in one of 3 places. It's either going to be in Thor: Love and Thunder, the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special that's coming, or Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. You're going to see that group of Eternals that went off into space at the end of Eternals show up in one of these 3 films.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I think that's going to be starting to tie in some of the cosmic side of whatever is going to lead into what is coming in Phase 5 of the MCU, and what Kevin Feige is going to be planning to announce at Hall H at San Diego Comic-Con this year, because they weren't planning to be there, and then all of a sudden they changed course, and Kevin Feige said, we're going to be at San Diego Comic-Con, and we're going to have a major announcement at San Diego Comic-Con. And I think they got a couple big announcements planned for that.
Yeah, and we're definitely going to cover that. That will definitely be something we're going to do a show here off that and whatnot, and we're going to cover that, and we're going to really break it down in detail and whatnot, and probably, unfortunately, not be able to play very much of what happens, because of course we'll get copyrighted if we do, which always sucks, never fun. But no, you tell me. I feel like, taking into consideration the track record of the Marvel Cinematic Universe and Marvel Studios, and how they like to go about things with their characters, and how they like to move them around from film to film and whatnot. To me, it only makes sense from a timeline standpoint, that if we don't see, maybe we don't see the variant Loki in Thor 4, but I do feel like we're going to end up seeing Loki pop up in something before we get the second season of Loki.
Yeah, I think so. I think it'll sort of be more like a, if they do anything in Thor 4, it's going to be at the very end, or it'll be an end credit scene. That's the only way I can see it. I can't see them not at least mentioning Loki, or what happened to Loki. And there's always, remember, these guys, what happened to the Loki? Remember, they saw Loki disappear into the Tesseract. So, are they ever going to question what happened there? What happened to that Loki?
let me throw out a good place where I think we're going to see Loki, and it could be the end of this film, but I think it's a lot more likely in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania with the connection with Kang and
Good call.
Kang's connection at the end of Loki. I think that is probably where we're going to see it, because you're going to be dealing with a lot more time travel issues and things like that. So that is where I'm expecting to see Tom Hiddleston show up as Loki, and it would make a lot of sense because that's filming or has started its basic filming right now, and Loki season 2 is filming right now as well. And I think if they're doing anything together on the Marvel studio grounds, it's not that hard for Tom to walk over and do a little cameo there for Ant-Man and Wasp: Quantumania.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a great call, Kyle. I think that's very spot on. And let's be honest here, this variant Loki is not Loki. I mean, he has no reason to have an attachment to Thor anymore.
No, he's a different character, absolutely.
Yeah, he's a Loki taken from a time before any of the events of Ragnarok or the Thor: The Dark World or any of that. So he is aware of those events. They established that in the Loki series. So it will be interesting if there is a meetup between Thor and this version of Loki. So
yeah, because when you think about that Loki, before we get to the trailer, just one last thing. Could this Loki even be considered a Loki who quote unquote birth or creation was on the day that he got sucked into the Tesseract or got split off from somehow the other Loki went with the other timeline? So he would even be, not even guilty of the New York thing because he wasn't even alive then. He's a totally different person. He just has all of Loki's memories, but he's not Loki.
No, and Renee, Kyle, do you think it's possible that honestly this variant Loki, even the idea, the concept of mixing him up with Thor might be a little messy. It might not work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't think it would work.
I don't think it works with this version of Thor. I think if you're going to do this kind of crossover where you're going to have Thor meet Loki again, it's got to be in maybe like the next Avengers film or whatever is going to be the big event that's coming, because you're not going to get the big saga event in this phase of the MCU. I think my personal opinion is, just real quickly before we start diving into Thor: Love and Thunder.
Of course,
the big thing for this phase of the MCU is to kind of clear the board after the Infinity Saga and kind of reset the chess pieces on the board. And the big event at the end of this phase is Fantastic Four. And I do think that there is going to be some major announcements about Fantastic Four coming from San Diego Comic-Con, including possibly some major casting news. And I also do believe this is what we are leading to is Secret Wars. I think the pieces are falling into place for that.
For what now? I didn't catch that.
Secret Wars, and I'm not talking about the 1980s version of Secret Wars. I'm talking about the version that was done in about 2015 that Marvel did, where they brought a lot of different things from different multiverses together, and it's how you ended up with like Miles Morales in the 616 universe and a few other things. But I think that's eventually the massive saga we're headed to is Secret Wars.
Right. Well, yeah, that
makes possible.
Perfect sense.
Yeah, it's very possible that's the direction that we can head in. And you're right, Kyle. We're definitely at a reset right now. In phase 4, we are. And this is actually something that I think that it's interesting that Renee and I have been talking about and having dialogues about. And I think it's interesting to get your opinion too, Kyle. And get your feel, like what your sense is, like the vibe you're getting from the fandom right now, as far as like how they feel about Marvel Studios, if they're optimistic, if they're pessimistic, are people complaining?
I see where you're coming from, and this is what I think. And I think this is a fair assessment. You are coming off the most successful 10-year run of something we've never seen in movie history. And with Endgame, Infinity War, those two movies combined being one of the most spectacular moments in movie history. You're not going to top that. You can't top that. So what Marvel is doing is they're taking a step back in this current phase. And obviously it was affected early on by COVID and everything caused with delays with Black Widow and a lot of other things. But what they're doing and what I like is they are kind of clearing the board. They're establishing some new characters, whether it's legacy characters like Sam Wilson taking over as Captain America, Wanda becoming the Scarlet Witch, what they've done with the Vision, things of that nature. And I think so they're kind of clearing the plate, kind of clearing the chessboard, showing the effects of the blip, but giving us these new characters and building up these new characters in this phase. So when phase 5 hits, they can hit the ground running, because I think the eventual plan is with Secret. They're going to introduce FF, which is, I think, their biggest piece right now. And when they introduce Secret Wars, I think Secret Wars is going to be their way to bring the X-Men finally into the MCU, because after the events of Secret Wars, you're going to really be able to shift the plate of what's going on in the MCU. Plus, I really like the fact that they're using Disney Plus to complement the films and build these give us the introduction of these characters where they can give them a little bit more of their own spotlight, like what they're doing currently with Miss Marvel, what they did with Moon Knight. Also, in the aspect of Ironheart and things like that.
That's what I think about Moon Knight, to be honest with you. But real quick,
well, I know
I got some toys, guys. Check it out. Do you see? I got a Stream
Deck. All kinds
Deck.
of new stuff to play with.
I got a Stream Deck. I got a new extended arm, like Wi-Fi tripod, and I got a new dongle. You always need more dongles. Never have enough. Got some good shit. Gotta love the toys, Kyle.
I gotta love the toys.
But,
I just got myself a nice new ring light that I got working on. You can kind of maybe see it in the reflection in the picture behind me, but you know.
Oh, well, you know what? That's interesting. I've never actually had a ring light before. I've thought about getting one, but I'll tell you, I picked up these panel lights, these soft lighting lights, and honestly, Kyle, to tell you the truth, I really, really like them compared to, like, I used to use the old style, the big clunky box lights for my lighting before. I like these panel lights, this soft lighting. It's nice. It's not as bright. It's not as like intense. But no, I think that we definitely are like in a resetting stage, and it's only natural for people to be somewhat disappointed or confused or pessimistic coming off of such a high with Endgame. And as far as Ragnarok goes, I'll tell you right now, I mean, Ragnarok was basically the last time we got to see the real Hulk, like being the Hulk. Infinity War, he was pretty much not involved. And then when he became Professor Hulk at Endgame, he was the only character in the entire final battle that actually did not have any scenes at all in combat, like fighting anybody. None.
Well, that's the aspect of getting Professor Hulk too. And I'll be curious to see. I mean, the next time we're going to actually probably see the Hulk will be She-Hulk. So I'm going to be kind of curious to see what we get there too.
Yes, I am too. And I don't know about you, Kyle, but I know that Renee and I are very optimistic about She-Hulk.
Yeah, I'm forward to that.
I am all in. I was all in on She-Hulk the day they announced Tatiana Maslany as the lead in She-Hulk. So, yeah, I'm all in. I like the fact that they're going to do some of the classic John Byrne things in She-Hulk. So yeah, I am very excited about She-Hulk. And all these people who are worrying about the CGI and She-Hulk just need to calm down, chill out. They're going to have it much better improved before this show comes out.
Well, hey, I want to point out that many months ago, I called it on the Miss Marvel Disney Plus series, on other shows, and on the Bleeding Edge. That I was highly optimistic about the potential quality of the Miss Marvel Disney Plus series, as reticent as many people were at the concept of that character getting its own show. Now, through 4 episodes, I must say, no spoilers or whatever, but I've been very fulfilled by what they've given us. It's a well-done series, and honestly, Kyle, I mean, again, you may not agree with me. Maybe, I had my disagreements with Moon Knight and the story and where it went throughout the series and whatnot. I didn't like the pace, but honestly, at this point right now, I feel like at the episode 4 mark of Miss Marvel, that series is just as good as Moon Knight was.
It's improved the last 2 episodes. I thought the first 2 episodes were a little bit too CW kind of feel to me, but I think it's there's some things they were doing I liked in it, but I really do think it's picked up in the last couple of episodes too. I'm really curious to see how they're going to wrap up these other 2 episodes and start tying it into what's going to happen in the Marvels movie that's going to be out in 2023.
That's a very interesting question. It really is. It's very hard to say how that's going to play out and how they're going to make that dynamic work. You know, how that's all going to come together. And again, that really ties into the cosmic shift, you know, that we're going to get into like later on, in phase 5. Well, okay, let's go ahead and play this Thor 4 trailer. This is, of course, the new-ish trailer. It's been out for over a week. I have not seen it. We'll play it. We'll react to it.
You're in the Shadow Realm.
How'd you know?
The atmosphere there has a darkness like no other. It's as if color fears to tread. It's unmistakable.
Well, then, if it's color we need, let's bring the rainbow.
The only ones who gods care about is themselves.
So this is my vow.
All gods will die.
Mjolnir!
So that's the ex-girlfriend, is it?
What's it been, like 3, 4 years?
8 years, 7 months, and 6 days, give or take.
You are not like the other gods of Kiln.
Just my first bad guy.
Never forget your first. I want to choose my own path. My superheroing days are over.
Remember what I told you? You ever feel lost? Just look into the eyes of the people that you love.
Okay. Well, go ahead, Renee. You start off.
Yeah, well, while you had yours going on the StreamYard, I actually had the trailer queued up on my television, so I watched it there. And yeah, I mean, absolutely. It looks like Thor and Hercules might be throwing down some, so I'm looking forward to that. Not Hercules, Zeus. Oh my gosh, Zeus and Thor throwing down. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. And of course, Christian Bale. So I'm in. I'm ready to go.
Hey, there you go. Kyle.
Yeah, I've been excited for this for a while. Obviously, Hemsworth is wonderful as Thor, and one of the things Taika has unlocked with Hemsworth is Hemsworth has a great comedy side, and Hemsworth gets to play that up in these films with Taika directing, so that's great. I'm all in for a return of Natalie Portman. I can never say no to Natalie. Russell Crowe as Zeus, I'm really intrigued to see how he's going to ham it up in that role, because he will. But the amazing Christian Bale, you're going to have the Guardians in this, though. I'm predicting now we're going to see them a lot in about the first maybe 15 to 20 minutes of this film, and then they're going to be phased out for the rest of the story of this film. Don't expect to see the Guardians in this film through its entirety. So I think the focus will shift to focus on what's going on with Thor and Korg and Jane Foster and Valkyrie and those kind of things. I think that's where we're headed, but it's going to be a blast. This version of Thor is just so great. I mean, don't get me wrong. I actually was a fan of the first Thor film that Kenneth Branagh did. Thor: The Dark World has its ups and downs for me, but I think Taika really has brought out the best of the Chris Hemsworth version of Thor, and I'm looking forward to this ride.
No, I think that anybody with any common sense has to realize that there is really, like you said, the Guardians of the Galaxy are probably only going to be a part of the film in like the first, what, like third, maybe, if that.
Maybe first 20 minutes, if that.
Yeah, because I mean they're not the focus. I mean the Thor films have produced these great characters. I mean Jamie Alexander's back. We haven't seen her yet in the trailers. She hasn't popped up yet.
She was there just a little bit. If you saw her, it's kind of like in the middle of the trailer. You might want to go back a little bit later and look at it. I believe that's Sif.
Okay.
Just like a real quick scene. But yeah, what you're talking about with the Guardians, that probably, or they could be running like a secondary plot for comedy relief, or with them doing, maybe they have another task that they're doing and it'll intercut to them every so often for a few minutes and then go back to the main plot. But yeah, they're there for a reason. Either it's going to tie into something down the road, or they're there to further the plot along, or to get Thor to his place or wherever he's going. Because he left with them, didn't he? When at the end of Endgame, didn't he leave with the Guardians?
Yeah,
he left with the Guardians.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and that premise itself, right, Kyle, was just a great premise.
Yeah. No. There's so much. There's some very interesting things here. They're obviously doing the God Butcher storyline, which is not that far removed from the comics itself. Interesting note here. Christian Bale was done doing comic book movies. After his Batman experience, he's like, nope, I'm good. I don't want to do anything. And after he read the script and saw Thor Ragnarok and what Taika has been up to, he's like, nope, I got to be a part of this. So because he knew it was going to be something different than his last comic book experience.
And I'm sure the dollar signs weren't bad either.
Oh yeah, I'm sure they weren't either.
Well,
so.
now they're not actually going to call the sword the Necro Sword, right? In this film.
I haven't heard that 100% confirmation in that, so I highly doubt it for a number of reasons. But again, they are pulling from some of the more recent popular. This movie is going to be one of the first Marvel things to pull from a lot of the more recent things, especially with Thor. When you have the Jane Foster Thor, obviously we had some stuff with Yelena as the Black Widow. Sam Wilson being Captain America now, but we kind of knew that was coming. But yeah, this is the one that's pulling from stuff that's only a few years old in the Marvel comics that they're bringing into the film here. I mean, there's some shots in this in some of the previous trailers that are, literally direct panels from the comics.
Well, Kyle, apparently there's some type of like contractual like overlap or something, maybe with Sony or whatever, with the Necro Sword. With it coming with essentially with its origin coming from the symbiotes.
Yeah. Well, can I just don't talk about Sony because what they're doing right now scares the living hell out of me. But that's a whole other story.
I keep having this nightmare that I'm actually going to like watch Morbius one day.
Yeah.
Trust
me.
Go asleep and it's the next film up, and you wake up and there it's on.
Well, when they're turning Kraven the Hunter into an animal activist, I'm like, you guys understand the characters here?
Why? Is that the direction they're going to go with Kraven?
That is the direction they're going with Kraven.
Well, I think I would rather watch gay porn than Morbius, personally.
Oh, me too.
But either way, and I like Jared Leto too. I do. I feel bad for him in a way.
Well, Morbius is another film to me too. Just got victimized by COVID. Delay after delay, then reshoots and all the weirdness around it. And like I said, I don't ever want to see a comic book movie fail, but I'm really hoping that some of these Sony Spider-Man movies eventually kind of don't hit well, and maybe it leads to Marvel just saying, "Here's your check, Sony, go away."
See, I always assumed that Morbius character with Leto would tie into the MCU, they would cross him over and have it be a part of whatever version of the Midnight Suns they end up putting together.
Yeah, well, that's the problem. See, the problem is this. Venom did well in the theaters, made money, and if Venom would have tanked, Sony probably would have sold all the Spider-Man rights back to Marvel completely. But the Venom didn't tank, so Sony's like, oh, wait, and then you had the success of Spider-Verse, the animated Spider-Man movie. So those kind of two things unfortunately, as much as I like to see those things be successful, they also hurt the fact that Sony decided we're going to hold on to the Spider-Man license a little more.
Yeah, why not? Yeah.
It damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Yeah.
But wait a minute, Kyle. Didn't Sony tell Marvel? Didn't it get leaked a couple years back or like several years back that Sony actually told Marvel how much it would cost for them to buy back the Spider-Man rights?
But that was when Sony had some other IPs that were doing well. Sony doesn't have that now.
I was going to say, because that amount was staggering.
Yeah, the amount was like $4 billion.
Yes.
But that was also before Marvel Studios was, that was before Disney was really deciding to throw out a bunch of money to things like that. But Sony Studios was really, really hurting, and a lot of people thought they were going to go down if Venom tanked, and Venom didn't. So.
Yeah, but it was still a terrible movie, though.
Well, yeah, but it made money, and that's the bottom line in that aspect of it. So
that's all they care about.
Well, you know what? I think that Christian Bale, as Gore the God Butcher, could end up being probably our best villain in Phase 4 that we've gotten so far.
Probably,
I mean, take into consideration how well. I don't want to take anything away from how well Jonathan Powers did, in the finale of Loki.
Yeah, well, I think to this point you're probably right in that aspect of it. Let's see what Jonathan Powers does in Ant-Man and the Wasp, and what other things he might be popping into, because I think we got a lot of Jonathan Powers in our future.
Yeah,
I do too. And again, I like the fact that they are continuing these Thor movies. I like the fact that they're keeping this this sort of, I guess I don't want to say team, but these characters that all make up these Thor films that also, are a part of it. I like the fact that they're all reunited, essentially. Jamie Alexander's back. Jane Foster's back. Right? And
well, that brings forward from the older movies. We're going to get that.
Well, and what led to this was right, and what Taika did with Ragnarok led to all this, because Jamie Alexander and Natalie Portman were done after their experiences in the second Thor film, and with what had happened with the directorial choices during the filming of that. But seeing what Taika did, they wanted to be back on it because they were so impressed by it, and here they are. So, and we're getting a great Jane Foster Thor story, I think. So.
Yeah, and I'm looking right now because I paused my television when we came back on the air, but it's a picture. On one side is Thor, on the other side is Jane Foster, and man, she has got some guns on her.
She
bulked up for that.
I think they digitally enhanced her.
Oh no! You need to see some recent interviews with her, because she's cut. She got herself buff for this role.
Yeah, I saw some pictures where they were surreptitious, where they took them on the set, and she's like walking from her trailer, and she's just got on like just a regular t-shirt, and I mean she's
ripped.
That's her.
Yeah,
but she's gone down. I noticed when they did the picture of the premiere, she had slimmed down some, so yeah, I'm sure she wanted to diet it back off.
And it's interesting, honestly, it's interesting, her career arc, as an actress and whatnot, where she's ended up at this point. And I wonder kind of where she goes now, after this. You know what I mean? Like,
she can write her ticket into any genre she wants, because she's succeeded at them all. And, she's the other thing with her is she doesn't need to act. She is a Harvard educated businesswoman. Mm-hmm. So she's like, I don't really need to do this if I don't want to do this. But she is at the point where she has enough juice. She can basically pick and choose the script she wants. She's not chasing down roles. People are coming to her with roles.
Well, no, and Kyle, you probably would know this better than I would. When she first came out, in her first films, her first appearances when she was younger, did she not get nominated for a couple Oscar nominations and whatnot and everything?
Yeah, but she did. But I mean, if you think about it, her film debut is The Professional, and she was 13 years old.
Great movie.
When she did that, and she was just, people were raving about her then, and everything she's done since, and she's done the gambit. She's done the romantic comedy. She's done the heart jerker. She's done the action films. She has run the gambit.
She did when she did The Black Swan, a movie I didn't really care for, but even so, you know, she's had some ballet training her whole life, so she really worked hard to at least get herself up to the point where she could do a lot of the moves herself, and a lot of that. You know, I think a lot of the long shots were dance double.
And she did. I think she did win an Oscar for that film too, for Best Actress.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, she really put in the work. She's that type of an actress. She really, I guess, she enjoys doing the challenge of it, and kind of like Tom Hiddleston, he's the same way. He just kind of like deep dives into it almost too much.
That was a dark film. You know?
Oh yeah, that was intended to be a dark film, and so yeah. But like I said, I mean, you look at all she's done, and then yet you go find that Saturday Night Live she hosted where she did the Natalie Portman rap on that show. So,
well, and she did Closer too, and that won the Academy Award for Best Picture that year.
Yeah. So I mean, I mean, she's uber talented, and you know. She had a bad experience early on in the MCU, but it's a lot of different people are in charge now and running things. And Kevin Feige's got basically full control over the situations now. I mean, and he goes to bat for his actors. Look what he did for Scarlett Johansson when all that craziness went down with Black Widow, because it went to direct to streaming as well as minimal theater release. And yet he stood up for her against Disney and basically said, we need to get her paid. So he's got, that's the one thing the MCU has going for it. You have somebody with the power that Kevin Feige has, and the actors know that he has their back.
Yeah, he's like a producer in the old sense of the word, like a Louis B. Mayer or Jack Warner, that really cared and just really wanted their pictures to. They didn't want to just make money; they wanted to make quality films and put them out there.
Well, doesn't that also kind of tie into the ethos again, in a way? You know, like.
And it comes from Stan Lee. It all. He's the moment there. He's the guy who really took Marvel and brought it to where it was in the comic book.
Yeah, I mean, basically, Kevin Feige is the modern version of Stan Lee. It's just Stan Lee did it on the comic side, and Kevin's done it on the movie side.
Yeah, he's sort of his son that he took over for the dad.
You know, Kyle, I never had a chance to tell you this. When we did our ranking shows and we ranked the all the productions that came out from Marvel in 2021, and then you throw Venom in there too, it came out to 9. My 1 through 5, best to worst, was WandaVision, the Black Widow solo film, then the Loki Disney Plus series, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and then Spider-Man 3.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about that?
I would have Spider-Man 3 at the top. What they pulled off in that film was absolutely amazing, and to make it work and to redeem Andrew Garfield like they did in that film was just outstanding. I would probably put, for me, on a personal level, Falcon and Winter Soldier number 2, because I just love the chemistry between Anthony Mackie and Sebastian Stan as those two characters. WandaVision would probably be 3 for me, because I think they really took some chances with that show and it paid off well. Loki 4, Black Widow 5, and the only reason why I say that is I really feel like Black Widow got hurt by all of the COVID delays, and I really feel, looking back on it now, Black Widow should have come out right after Civil War.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people feel the same way, Kyle. I mean, a lot of people have that opinion, and I really thought it was a great film. I really did. I mean,
it was a very good film, and I'm all in on Florence Pugh. I've been a fan of hers well before she was cast to play Yelena. But I mean, just as far as how it fit in the storyline, and again, I think some of it had to do with all the COVID delays. It just felt a little out of place when it happened. And you know, that's not the movie's fault, but just if you're going to look at it on production, is about my enjoyment out of it. That's how I'd rank them. And you have to understand, when I'm ranking Marvel stuff, there's not any of it that I didn't enjoy. It's just a matter of where it hit me. And Spider-Man, the third Spider-Man No Way Home was just amazing. It was Tom Holland's best performance as Peter Parker. All the way around, it was a phenomenal film. And like I said, to pull off what they pulled off is a pretty amazing feat.
Well, I respect what you just laid out. Like, I mean, the way you just balance it out yourself, I connect to. I get it. You know what I mean? Like, I get it. You know, I do. And that's one of the, the great parts about being a part of this fandom is that in general, Kyle, I genuinely like enjoy hearing Renee and yours opinions about these things. I do. I look forward to it. Like I look forward to your opinions being different than mine and you explaining it to me why it's different and whatnot and what you liked about this show compared to this other show, that maybe I liked more. I enjoy the discussion, the dialogue. I do.
Yeah. No. And that's the thing about the MCU, especially I think now with what they've done in Phase 4, but I think just across the board, there's something for everybody. You don't have to like every film in the MCU, but there's something for everybody, and that's the important point. And if one person says, "Oh, this one wasn't for me, but I really like this one," all the more power to them, because that's the thing. They're not making everything for everybody in every case, but you know what? Everybody's entitled to their opinion. Everybody's entitled to what they like and what they dislike. There's no wrong answers here.
No, you're right. I mean, like you see, you're talking about the Miss Marvel. I haven't even started looking at it yet because for some reason it's like too bubble gummy or something. I'm scared it's going to be like too teeny or whatever, and maybe that's my own problem. But,
no, honestly, Renee, I think you're going to like it when you watch it.
Yeah, I probably would, but to Kyle's point, it doesn't have to be for me. I don't have to feel like I have to watch that TV show, or I should be able to enjoy the rest of everything else without necessarily I have to see every single film, to know what's going on with all the other ones. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, and I think I agree. Yeah, and I think that's what Marvel's doing right now is they're starting to set up the different aspects of their universe to where if you're a fan of the cosmic, you can just watch the cosmic stuff and you don't have to know what's going on with everything else. I think that they are also setting up kind of a great street level thing going on with like Shang-Chi and bringing back Daredevil and what the kind of the reset they pulled with Spider-Man.
Putting Aquafina on the Avengers.
Yeah, so I mean, I think they're starting to split up the MCU into different a little bit more different categories that will have some of their own self-contained stories, but they'll be able to be brought back together for those big sagas when the time comes right.
Well, I just want to be clear. We're also going to be doing a ranking show soon. We're going to be ranking my 9 top blowjobs of the year. That's going to be next. We're going to be doing that ranking show, 9 top blowjobs. And there will be lots of diversity, I promise.
All of them at 0.
I'm
looking I just pulled up on the Apple, not Apple, my gosh, Disney. One more time, hat trick, YouTube, of where you got that trailer at, Jeff, and there's another one on there. It's called it's like 8 hours old. It's called Marvel Studios Thor: Love and Thunder Journey. So that's another.
Yeah, they just put out a new TV spot that's basically about a 30-second ad. Yeah. I saw it earlier today. As far as that goes, but I mean, it's pretty much all stuff we've seen in the other trailers.
Well, no, this is 1 and 9 minutes.
Oh, okay.
So and when I started it, it looked different. It had some different scenes in it and some different. So anyway, I'm just telling y'all, just check it out if y'all want to.
Well,
I'll let just a little bit.
I'll tell you that as far as Thor 4 goes, I look, I'm always optimistic, and I'm sure it'll be a great film. I of course agree with you 100%, Kyle, that Taika is a absolute extremely talented director, who's very much has the he understands the essence of where culture's at right now, and
very much so.
Just like James Gunn does. James Gunn is very much like he's very much real time with things, with his humor and whatnot and everything,
His Jojo Rabbit was absolutely stunning. I mean, here he's telling the story of a little German boy, and it's told from his point of view. So his play character, his fantasy, everything, all of his misconceptions, everything he's been taught that's just not so. We see that in that character and how he comes to terms And it was so beautiful. I mean, you know, that was like a masterpiece for me.
And if you want to get more into his silly side, watch Our Flag Means Death on HBO, the series, the pirate series he did, and that was a lot of fun and more of a bit on his crazy side for that. So
I think you all would agree with me, right? That this will be it for Christian Bale. It'll be a one-time thing, and that'll be it.
Yeah, this is a one and done for Christian Bale, and I'm not completely convinced. Outside of maybe another Avengers film, this might be the last of the Thor films with Hemsworth as the centerpiece of it.
Okay. So you actually think there could be another Thor film without Hemsworth?
Yeah, I think when you have Natalie Portman version with the Jane Foster Thor, you can do another movie with just her in that Thor role. So I wouldn't be surprised if that isn't somewhere in the cards here.
Okay. I mean, hey, you know, look, I'm old fashioned in general, but I love the original 6 Avengers, and I'm sorry, but I want to see Chris Hemsworth carry over to the next Avengers film. I do.
Oh, I think he will be in it. I just think as far as like a standalone Thor film,
right?
He will not be the center. He will not be the centerpiece of a next Thor film. I think it will be the Jane Foster version of Thor.
You know what? And maybe that's just what makes sense. Maybe a 5th film with him would just be too much. You know, like
he's starting to do other things. He's got a movie out on Netflix right now called Spiderhead that's getting another attention. He's doing a sequel to his next Netflix film, Extraction. I know he's in line to do a Hulk Hogan biopic here soon as well. So he's got a lot on his plate.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot for the Thor character to do other than just be muscle. Kind of like Hulk has always been. An aspect that I guess maybe it'll be touched on a little bit in the film. I think it will be are the Asgardian people who have come to planet Earth and they're trying to make their home here, and how they're interacting with humans, and I guess they're in Norway where the Tesseract was originally kept. Yeah. And so I think there are going to be a lot of good side things. I mean, there's the whole thing with Hercules, so that's going to be fun because here you got what did I keep calling him Hercules, Zeus. Well, what did Zeus think of Odin? Did they have a good friendship or rapport? Did they hate each other's guts? And you know, and I think that'd be interesting. That sort of like that dynamic between the two god families.
What about Valkyrie? Where does Valkyrie fit into this film? Is what I'm wondering.
She's the king of Asgard right now, so that's where she fits in.
Yeah,
Thor left her in charge of Asgard.
Apparently she goes along on the adventure somewhere, but yeah, I think she and Sif maybe get together and be buddies or somehow, some way.
Yeah, I heard that they were going to make her bisexual for the film.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, that's been hinted at in both of Endgame and Ragnarok as well. So,
well, I think that may be I'm going to go on a limb and say, well, maybe being bisexual is normal. Well, I should.
Yeah, I'm going to become bisexual tomorrow. Actually,
it's normal. That's just how everybody is in Asgard. There's no, people, they don't differentiate in their culture, so they don't think of it as bisexual. It's just they're omnisexual or pansexual.
Well, I'm going to do a reaction video of myself being bisexual. I'm going to react to it.
Well, that would be fun. That would be fun. You've had a lot of experience, so that should be real fun.
Yeah, it'll be. I mean, I'll have that. That'll be my next reaction after I do my smoking crack reaction video.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, Kai, I didn't tell you about that. I'm actually going to set YouTube history soon when I do my first actual reaction video to smoking crack.
Hey, just remember it's whack.
Oh my God, I'm telling you. But anyways, so what about Black Panther? I mean, hey, look, we got one more film this year after Thor 4. What are y'all's thoughts? I mean, at this point, I mean, obviously we're all optimistic, right?
Oh yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
But I mean, honestly, you know, I don't want to do any comparisons. I don't want to try to say is Thor 4 going to be better than Black Panther, whatever. But I feel like, in a way, with the way that they scheduled the release of that film, the Black Panther film, it puts a lot of pressure on it. It does.
Well, so here's the thing: you got to remember, Marvel changed that schedule around after COVID, because right now, you know, the Black Panther is supposed to be coming out right now originally. So you've got that. But here's the thing about Black Panther, and this is, you've got Coogler directing it again, so I have all the faith in the world there. But obviously, the whole tragic situation with Chadwick, and Kevin Feige's insistence that he will not cast somebody else in the T'Challa role. So obviously, we are looking at Shuri probably taking over as Black Panther. You've also got pretty much. I haven't heard
I don't want that.
Yeah, well, I think that's where we're headed, at least temporarily. You've also got the aspect that we are going to have Namor debut in Wakanda Forever.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And so we've got that. We have a Wakanda Disney Plus series that's going to focus on Okoye, which is coming as well. So there's going to be a big Black Panther thing towards a lot of Black Panther stuff in 2022 and 2023. The interesting aspect to everything right now is that I do have read in several places that Chadwick Boseman's brother has gone and had a couple of meetings with Kevin Feige and told him flat out that Chadwick thought this character was too important and he wouldn't want the character to be retired because he couldn't play him.
Right.
If I'm a betting man, I would not be surprised at, maybe not in Black Panther and Wakanda Forever, but in another project, we see whether it's a recasting of T'Challa. I personally, if they're going to do that, the guy I would like to see that is David James Washington, then the Washington's son. If you've seen him in either like Tenet or Black Klansman, he is phenomenal, and I think he would be perfect in that T'Challa role. But I can't. He's too important of a character, and I love Chadwick, and that one still hurts. I'm not even gonna lie. His passing still bums me out because he was so amazing.
I'll tell you right now, my opinion changed. It did. I was on the side of Kevin Feige at first, where I literally was totally all in that. I did not want to ever see that role recasting ever. I did not. You know, just because I think that Chadwick Boseman was legitimately like a fucking lion of a man. You know, like he was.
My man filmed that whole movie sick with cancer and didn't say a word to anybody.
Right. Yeah, he was a trooper. Mm.
Nah, you want to talk about courage, you know, like, and heart, you know, and like a role model. You know, in the Black unity, like a male role model. There's one right there. You know, dead or not, I don't care. What a great man. Yeah, I have the utmost respect for him. I do, and I feel you on that, Kyle. I do. It hurts me too. But at the same time, my opinion changed. Over at the podcast of Champions, after doing a couple shows in the podcast of Champions, and listening to the other people on the shows and their opinions, they swayed me over time to where a couple months back I changed my mind and decided that, you know what? Logically, it makes sense. And then, of course, it did come out with the brother and everything, too. It makes sense that for them to recast it. It does.
I think the biggest thing with recasting it, though, is, and I think this is the hardest part of this, is finding an actor who's willing to try to fill those boots, because that is a very, very tall order. And it's just like somebody trying to fill Hugh Jackman's boots as Wolverine, and just that it's such an iconic performance. I kind of feel that way about if you try to bring in another actor to play Steve Rogers or Tony Stark at this point, somewhere down the line. I just don't know if that's even doable at this point, because those actors are so iconic to those roles. You almost have to cycle through a generation before you can do it again.
I know it'd be like if somebody tried to fill Renee's shoes on the Bleeding Edge. You know, it just couldn't be done.
Yeah.
Right, Renee?
I think she might have.
Stepped away for a second.
Oh, that's okay, Renee. That's all right. I know you. I know you probably were either hitting the crack pipe or maybe, get a little vibrator action on the side or whatever. I get it.
Oh,
I don't blame you.
I'm done now. I'm done. Okay.
Okay. But no, I am very optimistic for Black Panther 4. And I think you're definitely right, Kyle. I think now, as far as Secret Wars goes, I don't know that I'm 100% on the same page with you. That I think that is dead set. That's the direction they're going to go as like the next conflict or whatever. But I do believe firmly that the Fantastic Four film is going to be essentially set up to be a game changer.
Well, to me, here's the one thing with Fantastic Four is that I do not want them to use Doctor Doom as the main villain of this particular Fantastic Four film. Give me a stinger with Doom at the end and set Doom up to be the big bad for the next saga.
Well, that's what I wanted to ask you. Do you think it's possible that we see Doctor Doom in like an end credit scene of Black Panther, possibly?
I don't think so. I don't think you see Doom until the stinger for Fantastic Four, because if you are doing Secret Wars, Doom is a big part of that. And
of course.
So I think you could set Doom up for Secret Wars and the aspect of tying Kang in. And I think there's a lot of moving pieces still that we don't know about that we're going to be finding out over the next six to 8 months.
Most definitely. And so just to be clear, Kyle, what did you think of the news of the Thunderbolts film becoming official?
I'm not shocked. I think that's what they've been setting up with Julia Louis-Dreyfus playing the Countess, and what they've been setting up with Falcon and Winter Soldier. I think, you'll have John Walker back, the U.S. agent back. You'll have Zemo back. I think you probably get the Abomination kind of filling in for the Red Hulk role, because I really think they're setting up some stuff with Tim Roth there. And there's a few. You're going to have Yelena be part of that. And maybe
you don't think they should recast Thunderbolt Ross's role?
Oh, yeah.
I think you can get away with it, because I think you can do it. You can substitute Tim Roth, because they're really setting some stuff up with him, obviously, with his cameo in Shang-Chi, and he's a big part of the upcoming She-Hulk show. So I really think you could kind of get away with that and be okay with it.
No, I think you could recast it easy, because John Hurt's character wasn't that integral in the he's not a beloved character. Let's put it that way. And like Robert Downey Jr. I mean, and so I think they could get they could probably do better with a little bit younger actor, because I think Hurt was getting on up there. So maybe somebody in his 60s that same demeanor, same whatever, got the same sort of gruffness to him. But I think that would be an easy recast on that, and people wouldn't care one way or the other.
Well, I'll tell you, in terms of, and I guess this might be the last thing that I'm going to ask you, Kyle, since I haven't had a chance to talk to you in a long time, brother.
Yeah, no, it's all good.
What are your thoughts on Captain America 4, man? I mean, you mentioned earlier about how, you could never replace, Steve Rogers as Captain America or whatever, whatnot. Well, we got Sam Wilson Captain America.
Yeah, but
I'm telling you, man, I'm all in.
I'm all in. I love Anthony Mackie. I'm all in for him having his own Captain America film. Again, when I talk about replacing Steve Rogers, it's bringing in another actor to play Steve Rogers. Right. It's not Anthony Mackie taking over the role of Captain America. I'm all in for that. I'm all in for it, especially if Sebastian Stan is going to be a part of it again, because, like I said, those two have an amazing chemistry and they got a great partnership going on between those two. I'm sure you're going to see other characters in Captain America 4. There's a lot of directions they can go with. I'm all in for that. There is nothing ahead on the Marvel schedule that's either confirmed or being speculated that I'm not excited about. There's a few things I would like to see more talk of Haley Steinfeld coming back as Kate Bishop. I think somewhere down the line, it might be 3 or 4 years from now, we are still going to have everything set up for a Young Avengers Champions type film with all of these characters in it. Marvel's got it mapped out, and I'm excited. I think the biggest questions on the board right now for the MCU are, when are the X-Men going to be finally incorporated, and also when are they going to pull the trigger on Miles Morales live action?
That's right.
Because that's the key that's the sword of Damocles that is hanging over the Marvel Sony relationship. Because if Sony ever pulls out on Peter Parker Spider-Man, Marvel actually has exclusive rights for a live action Miles Morales. Sony can do all the animated Miles Morales they want, but they cannot do live action Miles Morales.
Well, I'm looking forward to them releasing the footage, the secret footage of the moment that somebody had to actually vocally tell Brie Larson that she's gonna have to have a butt double in Captain Marvel, right? Because honestly,
well, I mean, look at it this way: she's not having to do the work. I mean, she's getting paid, and she gets to go sit in the trailer while the other girl's out there with her butt stuck out.
That's right. And she's making $13 an hour, Renee.
Well, we'll see on the Marvels, because there's a reason why they didn't bring back the writers from the original Captain Marvel film too. So I think you got to take that into consideration as well. I know Brie Larson is a very polarizing actress. But
hey, let me ask this question, guys.
Mm-hmm.
Since he started filming now and he's soon to be a daddy himself, what do you think is going to happen in Loki season 2?
I think a lot of Kang stuff. I think a lot of more of leading to whatever is the big events are of plan for the next big saga, because I think that a lot of what's happening in Loki is going to tie into that. Mm-hmm. The pieces are in place. There's so many pieces that are in place to do Secret Wars. When you're talking about the fact that they've introduced the multiverse now, you have all these different divergent timelines. You have characters floating around. You have what they're doing with What If, and what you saw with the Illuminati, that particular version of the Illuminati and Doctor Strange too. They have all these things they can pull from to create Battle World.
Okay, well, what do you think about your draw? I noticed you do draw a lot from the comics, and Kyle, and bring that in, but just in context of how that story was going, what about that battleship? I mean, not a battleship, but that destroyer. I believe that was the Philadelphia experiment, supposedly. Would that not be, if they've got something on board that ship, would that not be a great way maybe to break out of the void?
It's possible, and I think like I said, I think the first couple episodes of Loki will be dealing with that, and then I think it's going to be dealing with the aspects of what happened with Kang, and I think that's going to be kind of the predominant story of season 2 of Loki.
Because he's like from the 33rd century or something like that, and
technically, Kang is a distant relative of Reed Richards.
It's his great whatever grandson.
Kyle, were you aware of Chloe Zhao's new job?
Which one?
He can't go a podcast without showing that. Just to let you know.
What do you think, Kyle? Does Chloe deserve a second Oscar for that rescue?
Oh, sure, why not? You get an Oscar, she gets an Oscar, everybody gets an Oscar.
Yeah. Well, she made a good movie to get that Oscar for. That wasn't for The Eternal, so yeah, she was not the right person to direct that. I'll totally agree with that. But yeah, let's not put Chloe Zhao down. She's good.
No. Those were characters that really should have never. The only reason we got Eternals is because Marvel screwed up Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and screwed up the Inhumans in such a crazy way that Marvel couldn't do anything with it. And Marvel TV at the time screwed up the Inhumans so bad that Marvel couldn't have gone there. If Marvel would have just stuck to their guns and did what the original plan was to make the movie based off of the Jay Lee 12-issue limited series from Marvel Knights back in the day, Inhumans would be incredibly popular. We would have never had an Eternals film.
Hey, give them credit though for how they managed to salvage things the way they did in the Miss Marvel series, as far as her new origin story and how they've explained it with the Jinn and all that.
They've done a very good job with that, and I think they had to, because I think the reason why all the people who are knocking it, the reason why is because, and we saw it even in Doctor Strange with Mr. Fantastic, stretching powers are still something that special effects people have not gotten down. So, yeah, you've got that.
I hear your bug lamp there in the background.
Oh, that's my Bacta tank. That's my Bacta tank charging up for later. I've got some hurt kicking, you know, so I gotta jump in my Bacta for a couple hours. So
How many steps have you done since we started the show?
Oh, I pace. Yeah, I pace. I'm a pacer. I
like your garage, and we've really got a really good view of the. You see, you're walking around now. We see the rafters there, and let's see.
Yeah, you know what? Look,
there's a nice hand truck back there, and
this is actually this is my.
Go back. What's that picture on the wall there? But go back.
This is my backup studio.
No. Let me see. What's that picture? There's a picture on the wall. Yeah. Back. What is that on the wall? Looks like there you go. What's that picture? I can't tell what that is.
I think it's Clark Gable.
Yeah, there you go, Clark Gable. He should have been what kind of a Marvel character would Clark Gable have made? Who would he have been good as? I got a feeling Kyle has no idea who I'm speaking of.
Actually, I know exactly who you're speaking of, Clark Gable.
Okay,
he would have been he would have been Tony Stark in his era. He would have been Tony Stark.
Yeah. He would have been a good Tony Stark. Iron Man. Yeah, that's a good one. What about Jimmy Stewart?
He's Captain America. Come on now.
Really?
He's All-American Captain America.
Reed Richards.
He could have done Reed Richards too, or he could have even done Bruce Banner.
Yeah. I sort of see Henry Fonda doing Captain America though.
Yeah.
He could do that. You know, he has that in. He could do a Depression era version of Captain America.
Well, Kyle, I gotta tell you something real quick, man. Hey, brother, check this out. And Renee already knows about this. Dude, check this out, man. The other day I went on Spotify real quick and checked out our analytics on our pod.
Mm-hmm.
First time in months. And no joke, man. Over a 7-day stretch in June, with over like 550 plus plays of the pod, we pulled a 69% female slice of our audience versus male.
And you know why? For Mr. True Knowledge.
That's right.
Mr. Hot Stuff.
That's right. And over 60 days, Kyle, we did 63% female.
There you go.
And that's right. And on YouTube,
was that the nude show you did?
On YouTube, the last time I checked, I think that we were around. I think we're usually right around like between 35 to 40% female audience, you know, to 60 like male. And honestly, man, there's got to be a lot of third wave feminists out there that are outraged by that at the end of the day, because considering some of the shit that goes on in this show at times, the fact that many women actually want to watch this is certainly impressive.
Well, I'm a first-rate feminist, and you know I have no problem with it. So,
well,
I'm top of the line. I'm the gold standard feminist,
and that's okay, Renee.
Absolutely.
At the end of the day,
it's just, you know, my philosophy is, you know, if I'm doing the damn same work you're doing, I want the same paycheck.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I think that's good. You know what? And I believe in equality too. I do. And I tell you right now, I am making serious efforts to try to add some new female guests to inject into the show. But unfortunately, folks, it is difficult at times. Although there are lots of like female MCU and Marvel and fandom fans, getting them to actually want to come on shows and record at times can be difficult. You know, and I'm sure there's probably lots of reasons for that. You know, I understand, but I am making an effort. I am. And so I promise you that I will make an effort to make sure that we're going to have some tales in the future that have at least 2 women on them instead of just 1.
Sometimes I do the work of 2.
That's right.
There you go. There you go.
You do.
That's why I have 2 names. I have Renee and Loki's mom.
Well, Loki's mom's 5 jobs by itself.
Well, at the end of the day, I mean, I can't like lie about it or whatever. At the end of the day, probably a big part of the reason why we pull like those numbers with women is probably because of Renee, because of Alexis.
Well, thank you.
You know, I mean, it's not me. You know, I mean, honestly, I'm a raw, grimy ass motherfucker, man. But anyway,
and you also have really great guests. You have the MCU girl, Sally, the MCU girl. You have Alexis. I've met one lady I haven't seen in a good while, and that was Deb. I think she does a show.
MCU Mondays with Chris.
Yeah, she did that. She does that show, and I haven't seen her in a while though. But yeah, you have a lot of great female guests. I mean, you're not a well, yeah, you're a chauvinist, but you're not a
I'm not a chauvinist. Come on now.
No, wait a minute. You're not a you know what you are. Are you familiar with a man called Bobby Riggs?
Yes.
Have you ever seen a great movie for y'all to watch? Is it's actually on Freevee, or what used to be the internet movie database free channel where you can get the movies. You have to watch with their little stupid commercials, but it's called Battle of the Sexes, and it goes back and it actually tells the story of Bobby Riggs and the tennis player.
Billie Jean
King, and it's their story. It's about how Bobby Riggs come up with this idea that was the first back in the 70s. I mean, a lot of the things we're going through right now. My goodness, we went through this in the 70s, and for some reason we knew how to handle it. But anyway, the whole thing was the woman and the battle of the sexes, and Bobby Riggs comes up with this idea that he's going to play a female tennis player to show that, women should stay in the kitchen. They should, and he was a showman. He didn't care. He loved Billie Jean King. They really become great friends. Probably she was very, very close to him because they really had a lot in common. And he plays Margaret Court, and then he beats her. And Margaret Court was the number one female tennis player in the world at the time. So that spurs Billie Jean to take up the next challenge. I think the purse was like $1 million. Once ABC television and everything got into it, and it really was hyped up. And then it became this big game, this big tennis match where she beat him. She really did. He in a lot of ways Bobby beat himself, but at the end of the day, once it was all over, they really became very close friends. And to the day he died, she wasn't with him the day he died, but she was on the phone with him, and they just had a great relationship. So
now look at where women's tennis is at now.
And that's what look at the movie. I mean, it'll kind of open some eyes of how people were back in the 70s and how they thought differently than what we do now.
Well, you know what? Honestly, Renee, that is another conversation for another day.
Absolutely.
It is. And believe me, I
just wanted to bring it up because I think it's in context of what you're talking about. What we can talk about these things, men and women, we can talk about these things, trans folks, gay, whatever, we can all talk about it and not get mad and say, you can't be this or you can't be that, or you can't say this, or I think there's issues on both sides that we need to calm down about. But, what I'm saying is that you understand the Bobby Riggs idea that let's have fun, let's fuss and fight with each other and kid and whatnot, but in the end, let's be friends and let's understand each other.
Well, we've had a trans guest on before. We have on the Bleeding Edge. We have had one trans woman guest on the show at one point. So just to put it out there, LGBT folks, we pulled it off. We did it.
Yeah, there you go.
So, anyways, folks, to close things out, essentially, I just want to thank very much Renee for coming on and being patient with me. Same thing, Kyle. Yep. Thanks for waiting out. Thanks for waiting for me and whatnot, and let me get my shit together.
Absolutely. I might have a little motion sickness by the end of this podcast watching you pace around, but
I'm sorry,
Well,
man.
I've been
I feel bad.
I've been staring at my television the whole time because I get.
I feel
dizzy when I
bad.
look at it.
I'm not used to this at all. This is very awkward. Like I'm not.
Well,
You know,
did
I
a
don't.
great show. You carried it off. Yeah.
Yeah,
worked.
you know, I started when I first started making content. When I first started in content creation, I used my cell phone, right?
Huh?
But that was years ago. So nowadays, I'm not used to this. This is very different for me.
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, Kyle, please, tell everybody about what is going on at True Believers these days.
Well, True Believers, of course, is part of the Fandom Podcast Network, which is a network that contains about 12 different shows right now, ranging from anything from Marvel to Star Trek to Highlander to covering classic films with and everything. So we got a lot going on at the Fandom Podcast Network. With True Believers, we are obviously covering Miss Marvel right now, gearing up for our Thor coverage, and looking forward ahead to She-Hulk and a few of the other surprises I think Marvel has in store there. But you can find it all, of course. We have our master feed on for our podcast at fpnet.podbean.com, or you can look up the Fandom Podcast Network on YouTube and visit our YouTube channel and see all the crazy things we do over there at the Fandom Podcast Network.
That's right. And Kevin, Kyle's co-host, is a great guy.
We don't tell him that. We don't let him know that.
Now, Renee, you tell me, what are your plans? I mean, you know, I know you're taking a break from with the Miss Marvel plus Disney Plus series and whatnot and everything. So, I guess what are we getting She-Hulk next?
She-Hulk, yeah, I'm very much looking forward to She-Hulk. I plan to participate in that because that's, you know, I think that's more my speed of stuff. And also, I'm really just getting ready and prepared because I will be there Thursday at 3 p.m. with all the senior citizens. Although it may be kids in that audience because it's vacation week. But I'll be there, and I'll be probably one of the first people to see the movie in the Eastern Standard Time Zone, and I will put little tidbits over on Sarkar of freeforms.net, you know, just my little ideas and whatnot. No spoilers, but I'll give little hints maybe. And so I think it's going to be fun. I'm really looking forward to it.
Well, you know, Renee, we're going to need you to come back for She-Hulk because you know what? At the end of the day, we have to have that balance on the panel for the She-Hulk series where we got to have that female influence, you know?
Okay.
So,
alrighty,
you know, at that point, and plus, you know, we both agree, I think, that She-Hulk has a lot of potential. It really does. It could be, I don't know, Kyle. I honestly think that She-Hulk will probably end up being the best Disney Plus series that we get this year.
I'm not going to go that far because there's still a couple of other interesting things coming, but yeah, I think it's going to be good. I do think it's going to be good. It's going to be something very different from the MCU, which is one of the things that I've loved that they've done here recently is a lot more of these different types of shows. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be fun and bring it on because I love it when we get different corners of the MCU.
And there you go. And folks, again, I just want to mention that we very much here at the Bleeding Edge appreciate all of you that take your time to watch our videos once they drop onto YouTube and whatnot. That's where we get the majority of our views. And we really appreciate all of you. Thank you very much. All of our new followers and whatnot and everything. We're almost at, I think 1.6K followers or whatever. So, or subs or whatever. So we're almost at 2K. And of course, we are very humbly monetized now and waiting for our first big check from YouTube of $2.13.
Woo!
Yep, of course. And we also, believe it or not, I actually
what's my cut of that, Jeff? About 5 cents.
Oh well, we'll talk about that later. We'll negotiate that later, Renee.
Okay, alrighty.
You know, I don't talk business with women in public, if you know what I mean.
Oh, okay,
I'm old fashioned,
right,
so
right. It's because
yeah. So, anyways, no.
Because I wound up getting more money from you.
I spent an hour. I spent an hour yesterday on the phone with the owner of a company from Los Angeles that represents a comic book creator named Daniel that's going to be coming on the Bleeding Edge for an interview. And essentially he did a Kickstarter, and through the Kickstarter started his own comic book company, and he actually has released an adult R-rated themed comic.
Cool.
So of course it came to us at that point,
there you
right?
Go.
Yep. And so I ended up talking to this guy from Los Angeles that reps him, and he actually gave me some really great insight and whatnot and everything, you know, and like I had a chance to ask him some questions and whatnot and probe him a little bit and everything. It was interesting. But hey, it's just another sliver of legitimacy for the Bleeding Edge at the end of the day. And hey, you know what, fandom? We love you. God bless you. God bless Stan Lee. God bless Kevin Feige. And shout out to Kevin. Shout out to Andrew from GNN that unfortunately could not, you know, carry on to the show with us and whatnot. I love Andrew to death. He's a great guy. And thank you very much, Kyle. Thank you very much, Renee.
Thank you
for doing this show with me while I paced all over the place and whatnot and bobbed and weaved and shit. And folks, we will see you on the next one.
DD Mega Doo-Doo. I'm sorry.
Really, y'all don't know this, y'all in danger. I'm a threat. I'm a gamble with your life.